Hey, welcome to Leading with Gratitude Live. I'm your host, Chester Elton, the apostle of appreciation, coming to you from the gratitude epicenter of the universe, Summit, New Jersey. And I'm just delighted to introduce to you my new friend, Chris Gronkowski. And let me tell you just a little bit about him. You know, Chris, you'll know from the name, the Gronkowskis, the Gronks, right? They're famous for their athletics, you know, being in the NFL and professional baseball. All five brothers, by the way, from growing up in Buffalo, New York, ended up being professional athletes. Well, Chris has had a great career. He was the starting fullback for the Dallas Cowboys, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Denver Broncos. And so, you know, he wasn't one of those high draft picks. He worked really hard to get there. And after a great career in the NFL, he's become a very successful entrepreneur. Now, a lot of people, you know, they look at the Gronk franchise, the Gronkowski franchise, and they say, oh, they're having so much fun. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of discipline behind what they do, a lot of hard work. And I love their brand. They say, we grind it out. So welcome to the show, my new friend, Chris Gronkowski. Wave to the crowd there.
Hey, let's go.
And look at those guns. I love it.
Yeah, you know, I had to make sure I came prepared. So let's do this.
Go. Now, you know, talk to us a little bit about your pro career. You know, the NFL, I mean, it's the pinnacle. Every little kid who's ever played football wants to end up in the NFL, right? Talk to us about how you got there, because yours was a road that required a lot of hard work. Share that story with us.
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, I was the middle of the five brothers. My older brother, Dan, was a beast. You know, he was 6'6", 235 in high school. My younger brother, Rob, was a beast. Same thing. You know, he's almost 6'7" now. You know, one of the highest recruited players in high school. And, you know, I was the smallest, probably the shortest. I was the shortest, probably the slowest. And I was actually like the little fat one too. My brothers would make fun of me for that. So I was always told that, you know, this is a 1 in a million shot. So make sure you get your education. You know, school's always first. You're not even the best in your own family, so you probably don't have a chance of making it to the next level. So make sure that you get your education. So my journey was crazy. I didn't get a lot of you know, letters or scholarship offers. I had one to the University of Buffalo, who at the time, you know, they didn't even have an indoor facility. And if you want to play football in Buffalo, New York in the winter, it's tough to not have an indoor. So I turned that down. I was actually going to the University of Pennsylvania, and I was accepted into the Wharton Business School. And my dad was so pumped because he had his first son that was going to the Ivy League. And with that, I ended up getting this last-minute offer to the University of Maryland. And it pretty much came because they lost a bunch of players that couldn't pass SATs, and they just didn't have the GPA coming out of high school. But then they also had a bunch of guys on the team that weren't doing that well either. So they were about to go on academic probation. So I kind of got this offer to Division I because I had good grades. And it pretty much came with the notion that, you know, you better have a 4.0 when you get here. And I did. You know, I showed up and worked hard. You know, I ended up being the strongest strength for strength or pound for pound running back in the running back room as a freshman. I had a great GPA. I think I had, you know, a 3.9. I don't know if I had the 4.0, but the one thing that I did do, I had a better grade in one of these classes than the coach's daughter had. And she had a straight 4.0 her whole entire career. But this one class she got a B in, I got an A in it. And he was like, how did you do it? And at that point, he knew I wasn't cheating either, because I was one of the few guys that got an A, or a few people in the whole class. So I kind of impressed him with that one. But that journey I ended up leaving Maryland. It was a tough position for me to be in. Wasn't really seeing eye to eye with the coaches, and almost felt like I never deserved to be there because they didn't really recruit me. So I went to Arizona. I transferred, and just was a lot more comfortable there. And it was the same thing though for me. It was, hey, let's have some fun. If I'm not enjoying it, let's go to another school. Let's enjoy the situation. Let's get the best education I could while I was on scholarship. So I applied for the business school, and I was one of 2 football players in the business school at Arizona. And I went and got an accounting degree, not necessarily because I loved accounting, but I was really good with numbers, and I just wanted to get the best degree that I could that could help me when I came out of college. So went for the accounting degree. I knew it was probably the hardest one. I knew I had a chance to go on and take the CPA exam afterwards and make some decent money after I left college. And at that point, I started to get a couple, coaches visiting from the NFL my junior year. That was the first year I started. And at first I was like, hey, they're just coming to check out my brother, right? And the coaches started saying, hey, they're actually looking at you as well. And that was kind of the first time I thought I even had a chance to go to that next level. But with that, the position I was playing was very challenging. There's 28 guys in the entire world at that time that were starting fullbacks. Is a position that's really a dying breed. Right. So not every team carries a fullback, and when they do, they usually carry one. It's not like a running back position or a quarterback where they have 4 or 5 running backs. They have 4 or 5 tight ends. Same way, 3 or 4 tight ends on a roster. There's one fullback, and every team I was on, I was that one fullback. And if I got hurt, it was kind of the next guy up mentality of just using a tight end or using a linebacker or using someone else, because the position just wasn't that valued. So it was tough. So I ended up getting this one opportunity. I went undrafted. I watched my older brother Gordy get drafted in MLB, my older brother Dan get drafted to the Detroit Lions. And then I watched my younger brother Rob get drafted in the second round in the same draft that I was in, that I went undrafted in. So after that, I got a call about 3 minutes after the draft, and my agent said, hey, the Dallas Cowboys are interested in signing you as an undrafted free agent. That's where you're going. And, this is your one shot. You better make the best of it, because it's going to be a short leash for you.
Wow. Yeah. What I love is so many parts of that story I think are good lessons for people, is that, when you're in a situation and it's not working out, you don't have to gut it out. You can make a change, and the change for you made all the difference. You got a better education, you had better coaches, and you had a chance to play pro ball. I love this. We ask people to tell us where they're from, and we've got folks from Mali and St. Louis and Senegal and Washington, D.C. and Bangladesh and India. It's really an international group. I love Scott from St. Louis. He goes, wow, an accounting degree. When you think of football players, you don't think of accounting degrees. Well, the thing that you shared with me earlier that I think was really interesting is I don't think people really understand how short an NHL, I'm a hockey fan, an NFL career can be. The average tenure you shared with me is what?
It's less. It was purposely, we actually get benefits at 3 years, because the average is around 2.5 years for an NFL player.
Yeah, we think of these quarterbacks that play into their 40s and stuff. Most players, it's 2-3 seasons. And so the fact that you got to 3 was an accomplishment. Now, more than that, when your NFL career is over, right, you now become an entrepreneur. You've got an accounting degree. You've got some ideas. How did the discipline and, the grinded out Gronkowski philosophy help you in the next stage of your career? And by the way, put your questions in the comment line, because I know you've got a lot of questions for Chris about what he's doing and his family and so on. Right now, I want you to concentrate on those lessons you learned as a pro athlete that got you into being the successful entrepreneur, and tell us about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So being an athlete almost transitions over perfectly as an entrepreneur. All the long days, the hard work, the long hours, the grind is what you have to do, especially starting off a business. What really transitioned over for me as well is time management, especially in college. As a college athlete, your whole entire day, every single day is filled. And I don't think people realize how tough it is. It's a mandatory study hall in the morning, right to a mandatory breakfast, right to a workout or to school. After school ends, it's right to that workout or right to practice. So At the end of that, you go to a mandatory dinner, and then you go study. And then on top of all that, I was trying to party too and have a good time. So the grind is real. And with that, it's, hey, how do I maximize every minute of my day so that I'm successful, not just on the field, but also in school, and then also taking care of yourself athletically, because a lot of time also goes into that, especially with injuries and other things that happen as well. So that was huge. And that transitioned right over into business as well, especially once I had kids, because I really had to learn how to manage my time. Another thing, go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say, you and I were talking earlier, and you talk about it's just important at the beginning of every day to get in motion. And I love that it was emotion or momentum that you got to start. You just got to get going. And that was great advice for me that I told you has helped me out over the last couple of weeks. Why is that so important, just to get started?
Yeah. So for me, it was always wake up early and go right to the gym. I was a guy, 4 a.m., 4:30, whatever it was. Wow. Even sometimes once Friday came around, maybe it was 6 a.m. I had to get a little bit of sleep in and catch up a little bit. But no, that was the most important part of my day, because you get moving, you feel good, you get your blood pumping. And also for me, it was a great time to actually plan my day out. When you're working out, you're exercising or running, walking, whatever it is, you have a lot of time to think. And that's kind of when the best ideas come about. And for me, I'll actually stop and I'll take a quick note of it, so I don't forget, because you tend to forget things pretty easily. It's kind of like right before you go to bed as well. You think of these amazing ideas, write them down, because those are great ideas. And it's easy to forget something, even if it is a great idea. So the mornings are always a great time to get up, get moving. It also gets stress out for me, huge stress relief for me. And then I'm just ready. I'm energized and I'm ready to crush the day. So every day start out with a workout. For me, I had to switch that up a little bit because of the COVID situation and the gyms closing. So now I still wake up early. I like to now crush the hardest things that I have to do for the day, work-wise first. And then I kind of get stressed out a little bit. And then I get that workout in right when the sun comes up. And then I'm refreshed and I'm ready to go for the rest of the day.
It's really interesting. We're doing a lot of research. I always say I've got a partner in writing, Adrian Gostick, and we just finished a manuscript on anxiety at work. And I think a lot of people working from home, you've got the added anxiety of you're homeschooling your kids, or maybe you've got an aging parent you're taking care of. And this idea of building up this anxiety. And so often I talk to people and they say, yeah, you've got to take care of yourself physically. And taking care of yourself physically helps take care of yourself mentally. Starting the day with a run, ending the day with a run, something to really clear your head. And you found that to be exactly true for you too.
Yeah. And there's times in the day, exactly like you said, where the anxiety builds up so much that sometimes I'll take a call while I'm walking, just to kind of get that stress out. Or sometimes I'll have a 15-minute break. I started running. I actually picked up running during the pandemic because I had to find a way to challenge myself. And when you challenge yourself physically, it clears you up mentally as well.
Yeah, as a fullback, if you ran 10 yards, that was real fun, right?
Exactly. So that's why it was such a challenge for me to start running, because I was always that guy that I didn't want to run. It was always short bursts, and that's how I was trained my whole life. It was always interval training for the NFL. So I was heavy. I didn't have necessarily long distance endurance. I just had that short burst and that explosiveness. So yeah, running was always a challenge. It's something I said I would never do, and now I find myself doing it all the time.
That's awesome. So now you're transitioning, and you told me a great story yesterday about an email that you kept for 5 years.
Yeah.
You had an idea, and then it became your business. Share that story, because I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, how crazy is that? An email that I didn't even know what a star was back then. 2012, I get this email while I'm still playing for the Denver Broncos, and it was from my agent. It was a mass email sent out to all his clients, and it just said, hey, ABC Shark Tank is looking for any current or former NFL players that have an idea or a business that they might want to pitch on the show. So at that time, I got all excited about it just because I love the show. And I had absolutely nothing to pitch and no ideas at all at that time. But I said, hey, I'm going to start this because I know my NFL career is not going to last forever. So I'm going to start this, and I'm going to come back to it when I'm ready, when I have an idea, and I'm going to pitch it to them. So I kept it, and 5 years later, this idea came to me, and it was for a shaker bottle. It's what it ended up being. I was going to the gym sometimes twice a day still. It was super hot in Texas. And by the time I got there, this bottle was just sweating everywhere. And took a sip. It smelled awful. And then I was actually making like little sweat rings on the ground, like a little kid, right? Designing like little different things with the sweat marks. And the idea finally hit me. I'm like, wow, there's all these other insulated bottles on the market, but there's nothing that I can actually fill and mix my protein with or my pre-workout, BCAAs, whatever it is, and blend it up. And then also, just bring it to work with me or to the pool or on the airplane. And I was really just looking at that time for one bottle that I could use all day, every day for everything. And, with every other good idea, I always think I have, you go online and you check Google and Amazon and it's there, right? And home, and there was just nothing like that on the market at that time. So that's where the idea came from. And from there, this whole game plan went into motion. Like, hey, what a great idea. Oh, what about that email I had? Let's put this whole game plan on paper and let's see where it goes.
Yeah. And so now you get your chance to present, to the sharks at the Shark Tank. When were you the most nervous? Like before a football game or going into the Shark Tank?
Oh man. So it was a big buildup to the show. So it went from, this email to, I actually wrote back to him, and the girl that originally sent it wasn't there anymore. So another girl wrote back, and I thought I blew my chance after 5 years, but I was still good. Sent in the pitch video, and they loved it. So I had the opportunity. It was a lot of paperwork later. It was months later as well, and a ton of preparation later to get to that point. And then when you get to that point, what's funny about the show is that even if you get there on the day to film, if they have a bunch of really good episodes that they film before you, you might not pitch still. So you might not even film. And so the first guy I met when I got there is pacing back and forth outside of the hotel. And he's like, oh, what's up, man? Like he had a million questions for me, right? I'm like, it's kind of weird. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, I was here last year, but I never got to film. I was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. And then, after you pitch as well, they don't all air. So I always wondered, like, why don't these companies go and just stack up on inventory, right? Like, how do you have this one opportunity and then run out of stock? Like, that just doesn't make sense, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a gamble. It's still a risk that most people don't realize that, not every episode airs. And then when it does air, they don't tell you until 2 weeks before. So it's kind of like this mad scramble, like, hey, give me as much inventory as I can. Let's make sure we're ready. And you got 2 weeks to do it. And for most companies, that's impossible to do, right? You can't turn around thousands of units of anything in a 2 week period for the most part. So a lot of it's trying to do pre-sales and stuff like that. And but yeah, so when we finally got there, when I finally got on stage, for me, it wasn't that bad. And there's a couple of reasons why. I was able to prepare. I was lucky. It was season 9. There was 8 seasons before it. I wrote down each and every question that had ever been asked in the show. And I was ready to answer it. And I had the answers memorized at that point. I mean, I was doing it every single day for months. And, I was having my family test me. I was having my wife, my dad, everyone was just throwing questions at me. So I was ready for anything at that point. Even Mr. Wonderful's, classic, what's stopping me from making the Mr. Wonderful shaker bottle? I was just dying to answer that question. He never asked it. So when I finally got on stage, I was pretty comfortable with it. And what was really good as well, and what really helped me was that I knew my 4 brothers were chilling in the back room waiting to come out. So 2 minutes into the pitch, I screamed back, I'm like, bros. And then all of a sudden, these 4 massive guys run out of the back room. We do this huge chest bump. And I go from looking like a big guy on TV to looking like the small guy on TV. So it's a pretty cool moment.
That is so cool. It's like kind of memorizing your playbook, isn't it? You did your homework. And for those of you listening, Chris has just such a great energy about him and everything is like so fun. Don't let it fool you. I mean, he's getting people quizzing him. He's got his playbook. He knows the answers, right? He's got his family buying in. It's great to have fun, and we always want to have fun. I hope you're noticing there's a lot of hard work goes in before the fun kicks in. And, I just love the people that are tuning in. We got folks from Ethiopia, from Michigan, from Brazil, from Nigeria, from West Africa, from India and South Africa and so on. I mean, this is just such an international Switzerland, one of the great places out there. And how much of this, because, you can never talk to any of the Gronkowski brothers that they don't talk about family and brothers and how you were brought up and how important that was to your success. So talk about, in Buffalo, by the way, going from Buffalo to Arizona. Yeah, it's a little bit of a temperature change, not just culture change. Talk about, your parents played such a role in you 5 boys and your success. If you had to boil it down to the 2 or 3 key principles that you accredit to your parents, how they taught you growing up, what would those be?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, that's the number one question to us is, how do you have all 5 brothers make it to that next level? How do all 5 go professional and 4 of them in the NFL? Really what it boiled down to and what I attribute to is the way my parents raised us. It wasn't all about sports either. We didn't play football until high school. So it wasn't like we had this dad and this mom that were like, hey, we're doing football drills all day today at age 5. We were never forced into any sport. It was more like, hey, I have 5 kids in the house, 5 boys that have a lot of energy. You guys got to get outside. You are not sitting here watching TV and fighting all day in the house. Just get outside and do something. So that's kind of how our mom raised us. But the values that they instilled in us were really that, we had to earn every single thing that we had. My dad didn't come from money. People think like we came from this rich family. We've had success now, but it was never like that. My dad had $50 in his pocket when he married my mom. Wow. They had their first kid, my oldest brother, my dad was 22, my mom was 21. So my dad worked 6 years, 2 businesses to start his own business. He's now the second leading distributor of fitness equipment in the U.S., but it wasn't like that when we grew up. So I don't think it was even that reason that he couldn't provide it to us. I think it was more of a learning principle that he learned when he was a kid, that everything had to be earned. You were going to get a job early. So we had a paper route at first to teach us responsibility. We umpired at the local baseball fields. I worked for my dad when I was 15 years old, delivering fitness equipment and learning the business as well. And, if we wanted something, awesome, go get it, work for it, pay for it. If you want a car, hey, go buy a car. That's on you. Go get it. If you want to go to college, that's great too. You're paying for it unless you get a scholarship. And the way they raised us was, if you want it and you want that scholarship and you want to get to that level, we'll help you get there. But you're going to earn it. We're not paying for it. If we do pay for it, you're paying us back, kind of deal. So they would do whatever it took to help us, but they were going to make sure that we earned everything that we had. And I think that was absolutely huge in the development of all of us. I mean, we were so scrappy growing up. We saved all of our money. I probably had $50,000 going into college that I couldn't even touch, just from all the jobs and stuff that I did over the years. And we got through college. I remember Rob used to take $50 out of his check, his scholarship check, and that's all he lived on for the entire month. And then I would actually make money playing online poker in class to get through college. Man, so we would do anything just to get by. But that was really, I think those principles really were just drilled into us. And hard work always pays off. My dad, that was what it was all about. Okay, if you want to get to that next level, here's the basement, here's the resources. Now do the work.
I love that, because, so often you see people that have success and you think, they were born into it or whatever, and really not the case. Now, I know you were competitive with your brothers, and before I forget, so 4 of you play in the NFL. 1 gets, drafted by Major League Baseball. Like, what's with the baseball player? Like, how do you get 4 football players and 1 baseball player? Could he not hack the hitting or what?
We got to bring him on and ask him, but it's funny because he's like 6'6" now. When he was playing baseball, he's probably about 245. He's trimmed down a little bit now, but back in high school, he just wasn't a big guy. He was probably like 6'2", 180 maybe. And he just wasn't, he was the oldest. So he wasn't really the one getting in fights. I mean, once I came around, I was the middle, man. It was, fight the older one, fight the younger one, fight all day long. That's just how it was at that point. So I don't think he was as aggressive as we were. And then, like I said before, my parents didn't force us into anything. So he was never really introduced to football. And he really had, no idea what it was. And neither did I. And the only reason I really did and really got into it was because my brother Dan did. And I think Dan got into it because Dan was just this man child at 6'6", 235. I mean, this kid was huge. Like, he was forced to play football just because everyone in high school wanted him to. I think my brother kind of regrets that he did it. He went out to one practice. My older brother Dan, who's 2 years younger than Gordy, the oldest, threw him a pass. So Dan was a quarterback, and he was a stud quarterback. Threw him a pass. Gord caught it, hurt his hands, and he said, "I'm done." Caught one pass and hurt his hands, and he was out. And he got a baseball scholarship, went on, and he was a freshman All-American, and ended up having a great career in Jacksonville, Florida. So it was definitely a good decision for him. But now he constantly gets drilled with that question.
I'll bet. What's really interesting to me is it's clear when you're with your brothers how much you guys love each other. And so often in families, that competitive nature can turn sour, where people take offense. How is it that you were able to get past all that? Because, your brothers come storming out of the back at the Shark Tank and celebrating and so on. How do you guys keep competitive and yet it hasn't damaged your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I think that was not the case, actually. I mean, early on, we were so competitive that if one brother, say, won a home run derby, we just talk trash about him. And you'd be mad, you'd be jealous, because we were just that competitive. And everything that we did, we had to win in, or it became a fight. So every day we fought, all out fights, all out brawls. And that's also how our parents raised us was, if you have a problem, take it outside and settle it like a man. Just don't punch each other in the face or down low, and we're good to go. So, but yeah, so I just completely lost my train of thought on that.
The relationships later, you were competitive now you clearly love each other. How do you keep that, goodwill and good feeling?
Yeah. So really once it came to high school, and for me, especially once, Rob got a little bit bigger than me, it became more about, focusing that aggression as a team onto opponents instead. So at that point, it really switched. We became teammates at that point. We started playing together, and it really became a game where it was almost showing off to each other at that point. I would brag every time we had a big hit. I'd wait to get into the film room to be like, "Hey, check that out." And it was the same way with him. So this bond just started forming really over teamwork and working together for the same goal, same mission. And we all just became like that. And, once someone becomes successful and then, you follow in their footsteps, you realize how much work it really takes. At first, when my brother Dan got a scholarship, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I didn't really realize how impressive that was. I really didn't give him credit for it at first. And then, I tried to, and it was a very difficult process. Like I said before, I didn't get those scholarships. I got lucky to get a last minute one. And a lot of it actually ended up being because of him going off, and he was doing great at Maryland. And so they ended up offering me as well, because Dan was doing so well and was such a good player to have on the team. So that respect really came with everything that we started to experience as life went on. So, the NFL, just getting there, the grind day in, day out. I mean, even through college, the grind that you're going through, and to be able to come out of that successful and thrive, you just looked at your brother and said, man, great work, man. Keep it up.
Yeah, that's great.
It's hard. When you go through anything with someone, you really have a lot of respect for them. And I'm sure there might have been a time in your life where you had a very difficult situation that you went through with someone, and you're always close to them for the rest of your life. I mean, I've even had friends on the Cowboys that I still talk to, that went through training camp with, because that bond just never goes away.
Yeah. It's interesting. Taran asks, he's from India. He says, what's the theme of the program? And I think, the theme really is that, the hard work does pay off. Be prepared, and yet be grateful for all of those people that help you along the way. It's really interesting. You talk about being grateful for how your parents raised you, your coaches, the opportunity to go to Shark Tank, your agent, and so on. You've got a lot of people to be grateful for throughout your career and your life so far, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. And again, you got to give them all credit, because you won't even be close to where you are today. And with everything, that almost goes kind of back to the concept of, fighting with your brothers and being so competitive. At first, you think you can do it all by yourself, especially in business. That's how I was as well. And you start to realize every day that you can only excel so far on your own. You can't get to that next level. Championships are won by teams, and you have to be a team player and have a great team as well. So That's been huge. That's been huge for me, and it's been a huge realization for me. And I'm very gracious to everyone that's helped me get to where I am today.
Excellent. Well, you know what? We have 1 minute left. We ask all our guests, what are you grateful for today?
Oh man, this one's easy for me today because this is my second podcast. I guess we'll live show on this one, but I've been online all day, and my wife is downstairs with the kids, and we have 3 kids under the age of 3, and I am very grateful for her each and every day. But especially with the COVID situation, everything going on, it's been very tough, and especially with 3 kids, she runs her own business as well, and she's still able to get it all done. So. Baby, I love you. Hope you're listening. Don't be too mad at me today. Got a lot of work to do.
Hey, listen, it's been a delight to have you on the show. You've got a new YouTube channel at the Gronks, which is really kind of fun. You can follow him everywhere. Make sure you get his protein shaker. It really is amazing. Yeah. We're leading with gratitude, and we love to talk to people that are grateful for the people around them, whether it's their brothers, their agents, their families, their coaches, and certainly you've lived a life full of gratitude. If you want some more information, leadingwithgratitudebook.com. Follow us there. Follow us on LinkedIn. And, we've got a great monthly newsletter as well. Well, Chris, if there's anything we can do for you, you let us know. And we look forward to seeing your brother playing down in Tampa for the Buccaneers. And just as we wrap up, you got to show those guns one more time, man.
Oh, come on, man. It's a brand new house I just cleaned up.
Take care, everybody. We're grateful for your time, but we hope you're a lot more grateful, that you're a lot more patient, and you're a lot more kind. Well, that's our show, and we're sticking to it. Thanks, everybody. Give a wave. Bye.